All right, welcome everybody. I'm here again with the wonderkind Riley Wickman. Riley, how you doing?
Good, good. I'm hanging in there, trying to finish out the back end of this MLB season and get started here with NFL here.
Well, we're excited that NFL is starting up. This is a great model that Riley has made. It's its third year of the model.
Third.
And yep, third year of the model. We're very excited. Very successful year last year. The model is very unique. We'll share as much as we can, but obviously we can't share everything, but we will share what we can. Also, week one is free to the public. We're going to be posting week one, and you guys can experience what the model is like. And then hopefully you can join our community because we'd love to have you. Riley, can you take us through real quick and tell us what all these columns mean so that when people are viewing the the model, they know what each thing means?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me preface this by saying too that these are bowl numbers bet online as of whatever today is, the 23rd. So 23rd of August. So these aren't going to be the final numbers that are on the first week chart, but we're just using these as placeholders for now. And then the other thing I wanted to say quickly too is that this model in terms of the presentation really hasn't changed at all from last season. So if you're sticking around from last year and you've been with us, this isn't going to change. So this will just be a refresher, but maybe not the worst idea before the year. So first off, we have our spread columns, and we have the Vegas spread in black, and we have the EES spread in blue, and then we have the spread edge. So this is the edge based on purely the spread numbers themselves. Going over from there, we have the money line columns. We got Vegas in black, ES in blue. So you can see that's going to be a common theme. And then we have the money line edge based on obviously the money line. And then going on from there, we got the Vegas total in black, ES total in blue. So pretty easy to tell the difference there. And then we have the total edge based on just the total numbers, not considering the line. So that'll have to be taken into account later. But moving on from there, then we got the team totals, which are not in yet. There's no, I don't think there's any team totals out there yet, obviously. So still too early for that. ES team totals, team total edge, and we will make team total plays, just not quite as high of a volume in comparison to the standard spreads and totals. And then we have our play column. So this is the last one, but this will be where the play itself is listed and also the unit sizing is listed as well. So pretty straightforward, follows the same concept as all of our other models in terms of structure. I think it lays things out pretty simply. And then this is obviously focused on identifying the edge and then also identifying the play. The ratings themselves are going to start to come in later. And this is going to be the live plays chart. So you get your team ratings, and these are all adjusted, meaning that every week these are going to change based on their opponent. So it's not just a static rating that's is unadjusted. This is a adjusted rating. So we have passing offense, and these are all scaled to 100 as average. So anything above 100 is better than average, as in generating more offense in this case, and then anything below 100 is below average, generating less offense. And then for defense, it flips. So anything below 100 is better than average, or suppressing. We like to call it suppressing offense. And then anything above 100 is worse than average. So that's how you read the ratings. And the conditional formatting will help you out a little bit. So it makes it a little bit easier to see that, oh, this 107 for defense is bad, but this 108 for offense is good, in terms of relative to average. So that's how you read that. Those are the actual team ratings that are then, like I mentioned, adjusted per week. We have early down pass percentage. This is just kind of a reference point that I throw in there. So I'm going to guess that a lot of people probably don't even use it, but some people do. And just gives you an idea of what proportion of plays in the early downs, the first and second down are passing plays for the given team. And it looks like I actually might need to adjust this formatting a little bit here because there's a 59 that isn't highlighted, but we'll make sure that that happens before we start. But yeah, so that's going to show you the percentage essentially of passing plays in the early downs for each team. And it might give you some insight into which teams are going to start to chase games when they're down, like how quickly they're going to chase it, because teams that are consistently running will slow the game down, and just leads to a different kind of game script, if that makes sense. Then we have our live betting numbers, and we're never going to be pulling in actual odds here. So these are all just relative to average output. So this isn't the same. You can't read this the same as percent edge on this chart. It's not edge. It's relative to average output. So for example, Baltimore, in this case, when they're trailing, we expect them to essentially perform, would be a very loose term, but perform 23% better than average. And in this sort of game, if we could find a good number, maybe we say, hey, if the Jets go up early, we know Baltimore is going to be effective at chasing leads, or excuse me, holding leads in this case, because it's ahead overall. So holding a lead, and that would make sense for me because they are a good running team, right? Baltimore. So they're going to be able to control the pace of the game. And also the Jets on the flip side, not a great passing team, so they're going to have a hard time coming back. So that's how you read that. Then behind overall, this is what I actually mentioned before, but teams that are chasing a game, so behind, we expect, for example, Cincinnati to have some value here because they have a good quarterback and Joe Burrow. They've got a good passing game, and Pittsburgh, maybe not the best run game, so they're going to struggle to hold the lead based on the game script that's likely to be called in those scenarios. So that's kind of how it's a little bit loose in terms of the logic. We're never going to have an actual play-by-play percentage when leading, when trailing, all of that. We're making some assumptions essentially, but the overall logic is teams that are trailing, we're looking at their passing offense because they're going to start to try to up the tempo and come back. Teams that are ahead are going to fall more, they're going to become more reliant on their running offense. And then we look at the defenses as well. So that's kind of all that goes into play there. It's kind of a lot, but in general, just looking at the numbers, green means good, no color means not enough to be considered for a live play. And then the same logic can be applied to totals, except in this case, significant percentages below 0, we'd be looking at an under, and then significant percentages above 0, we'd be looking at an over. So in this case, it highlights it nicely for you. So 11% towards the over when the home team is ahead. So in this case, we'd be looking at, hey, if Tampa leads early, we know Dallas is going to probably be chasing the game. They've got a good passing attack. Tampa likewise, and they're also going to be able to run it. So in this case, maybe both teams are going to continue to score. And logically, I think this makes sense for a game in which you'd maybe target a live over. But that's kind of how you read it. I know it's maybe a little bit confusing right now if you're not used to it yet, but as we go through the season, I think you'll get more and more comfortable with the logic that we use, and we'll talk through it more as well. So then the last column here is live bet potential, and this is kind of just a sum of an average actually of the absolute values of all of these numbers. So we're kind of looking at in total, looking at all these types of bets. So we could be betting on a side, we could be betting on a total, but in general, based on our numbers, which games are most likely for us to be looking at when it comes to a live bet based on the matchups. So there are some matchups that obviously you can tell here, Cleveland, Carolina, for example, based on our numbers, we don't really see much live bet potential there. Where on the flip side, Indianapolis and Houston, we like Indianapolis either way. So even if Indianapolis is leading, maybe we expect them to just run away with the game as well. So that's kind of how you read that. That was a long form answer, but I hope that was detailed enough. George, what do you think? Did I miss anything there?
No, I think you got everything. We just want to make sure that you guys understand that everything here is color coded. So if you get confused, green means good, red means bad. If you take a look at Buffalo and the Rams, you can see that their pass offenses are 111 and 112 respectively. That means that Buffalo is 11% better than an average team at producing points. And the Rams are 12% better than an average team at generating points. If you look at the pass rush for Buffalo, we have them at a 95. So that means they're 5% better than an average defense at rushing the passer. That's how you read that. So if you go all around here, if you see a green number, that means that it's positive for the team. If you see a red number, that means it's negative for the team. When you're talking about offense, more than 100 is above average. Less than 100 is below average. When you're talking about defense, when you're talking about point suppression, then less than 100 is above average and more than 100 is below average. But if you ever get confused, it is color coded for you. Riley, when we talk about live betting, we're not going to give any official plays that are live bets. What we will do sometimes, maybe more this year, will be that we will give plays at halftime. Once the lines are established at halftime, you have about 15, 20 minutes. We might put out some halftime wagers based on this information. For example, if the Jets are up 14-3 on Baltimore at the half, we're probably going to have a halftime wager on Baltimore based on our statistics, depending on the lines, obviously, and game flow. Like if Baltimore sustained some serious injuries, we probably wouldn't. But if it was just a fluke thing, we're probably going to be on Baltimore because we know they're going to come back. We might even take the second half over in that game because we know that Baltimore is going to try to move the ball, things like that. So that's really a situational thing. And a lot of the members, they use this chart for their own purposes, either betting live or figuring out for props what the team's strengths and weaknesses are in the model. And so a lot of the times you can use this sheet for a lot of different things if you're creative. We do have one more sheet. You get 3 sheets a week for all the games. Our last sheet is the derivative sheet. And basically that just means first quarter, first half. I know a lot of people like to bet these. They don't come out until later in the week, but Riley does a great job of pinpointing first half, first quarter, overs, unders, sides. If there is any edge, he will sniff it out. Riley, can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
Yep, absolutely. And we will make several of these types of bets throughout the year, but looking at the first column here, outside of the game details, we have scripted play efficiency. Now this number is going to inform a lot of the, well, our analysis of the early parts of the game for a team. So how effective is a team in their first 14 plays that they've called? Their first, 15 plays, I believe. I'm trying to remember what the cutoff is. I think it's 14 or 15, but the first chunk of plays that a team is called, we call them scripted plays because coaches will have those scripted out to attack the other team based on their strengths and weaknesses that they've analyzed throughout the week, their practices, all of that. And so based on how efficient these teams are, that's kind of how we analyze how they'll perform in the early stages of the game in comparison to another team. So one team right away you can tell is very effective early in the game and successful is the LA Rams. And so this number, this 178, means they are 78% more efficient than the average team early in the game. So that's a huge number, and it might make sense considering, using the eye test, but also, McVay's there. He is pretty well known for being a creative play caller and good at analyzing other teams. And this number kind of represents that for us. And that's kind of how that's integrated into the model. So this number will then be used to, and actually will affect these resulting numbers that we generate. So we have our first quarter spread here compared to the Vegas spread, which will end up being Pinnacle. We have our first quarter money line, first quarter percentage, which is just the money line converted. first quarter total, and then we move on. We also have all of those numbers for first half. So first half spread, first half money line, percentage, and total. So we will make a lot of these bets. And the way I like to look through it as well is if we can find a significant amount of edge in which that edge is being generated by this number that we know and the public won't necessarily have access to this information. They can, but obviously people aren't willing to do the work. That's kind of what separates us a little bit from others. We have access to this number. We've done the research, and if we generate edge because we know that the Saints are more effective at calling plays early on compared to the Falcons, for example, then we'll likely be on that first quarter spread. So we will make a bunch of these, like I mentioned, and this is a way that I like to. It's a creative way I like to attack games in which I'm maybe not so comfortable with the full game spread or total or side in general. So anything that I missed there, George?
Obviously, these lines aren't out at Pinnacle yet. On the day that we're recording this, 2 weeks out from the start of the season, they don't have first quarter, first half lines. But like I mentioned earlier, we are providing NFL Week 1 for free. All of these will be filled in. It'll be available on our website. We will post in our Twitter feed when that is available. So please follow us at Expected Edge in Twitter. And we look forward to seeing you during the season. Riley, thank you very much. As always, if you have questions, you can always drop us an email and I will post it. I will post our emails up. And if you're thinking about subscribing, jump on our website and pick a plan. We have a monthly and an annual plan. And if you made it to this point in the video, then you must be pretty interested in what we do. So if you email me, I can give you a special promotional rate for this upcoming football season. So Riley, thank you again. You are a genius. And we look forward to having a tremendous football season.